Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining today for the sixth session of our cybersecurity training and internship program. So today we have topic of broken access control, and one of our empaneled speaker is going to take this topic today. We have taken the topic last session also he has taken. So Mr. Agniba Datta is going to take the topic today. I'll introduce him officially. So he's an aspiring security researcher and bug bounty hunter. So also he's pursuing his MBBS currently. And he has secured Hall of Fame and bug bounty in multiple companies, including Sony, Ericsson's, NASA, US government, and many others. He has also worked as external pen tester in Rudra InfoSec. So thank you very much, Agniba, for joining us today and for enlightening our students and interns basically for of this internship training and internship program. So over to you.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for joining this session. I would like to thank everyone and the team of CSI for giving me this opportunity to present me such a session. And so today we'll be learning about broken access control. So whenever we talk about the broken access control, it's kind of bug which was been there since the dawn of the web application faults. And this bug won't be, and it will be there till the time all the web applications will be there onto the internet. And such a type of bug that it has not only has spread its wings, not only in the web application, but also in the APIs and also in the Android. So broken access control is quite a big vulnerability, and it has a lot of subclasses actually. So its subclasses mainly include IDOTs, broken object level authorization, and broken function level authorization. Also the privilege escalation. If you have done any network pen testing, also if you might be heard of the term privilege escalation, but not only it has its branches in network pen testing, but also this type of vulnerability are there out in web application and APIs also. So, but as we are keeping this topic only limited to web application, so we will be seeing how we can see broken access control, and we will learn about how we can actually find broken access control in web application itself. So before that, first of all, you need to know what is exactly broken access control, or BAC. So broken access control are a commonly encountered and often critical security vulnerability. Design and management of access control is a complex and dynamic problem that applies business, organization, and legal constraint to a technical implementation. Access control design decisions have to be made by humans, not technology, and the potential for errors is high. And that's how the BAC arises. So what are the type of commonly access control vulnerabilities? So whenever we talk about the different type of access control vulnerabilities, we need to understand what are the majority access control vulnerabilities are out there. So first is the vertical access control. Vertical access control are mechanisms that restrict the access to sensitive functionality that is not available to other type of users. So what is exactly vertical access control? How can you understand in a simple terms? So suppose you are logging to any web application that has an user and also has an admin functionality. And suppose you have the permission to log in only as a user. Okay. And suppose then you can only perform certain functionality, like you can only upload your picture or try to change your name. And suppose there is a functionality where you can remove certain pictures, but it can only be controlled by admin. So if you are intercepting a request and make some changes and somehow you are able to perform that functionality which an admin could do by your normal user, then it's a vertical access control vulnerability. It's also known as vertical privilege escalation. So this type of vulnerabilities are known as the vertical access vulnerabilities. Okay, next is the horizontal access control. So horizontal access control are mechanisms that restrict access to resources to the user who are specifically allowed to access those resources. So what that means? So horizontal access control means suppose you are logged into application like Facebook or Instagram or any other application, any other social application you can take, or anything you can take. So suppose you have you are logged into your Facebook account, and after logging into your Facebook account, what you can do? You can perform any changes in your account, or you can upload a picture, you can remove a picture, or you can post some status, you can post any picture, and you can make some changes in your profile, right? And suppose you have a friend, and suppose by changing any UID, like any user ID, or by changing anything in the request, something like GUID or something, any session token or any particular thing, you are able to manipulate your friend's account. Like you are able to perform any changes in your friend's account, like removing his particular profile picture, or uploading anything on behalf of your friend, or making any changes to his profile. So that will come under horizontal access control. Just like what is an horizontal line and what is exactly a vertical line. Like in case of horizontal access control, you can move from user to user, and in case of vertical access control, you move just to a higher testimony. So from like a lower testimony to higher testimony. So like an user to an admin, or an user to someone who has higher privileges. Okay. And then there comes the context dependent access control. So context dependent access control restrict access to the functionality and resources based upon the state of application or user interaction with it. So what that means? So it exactly means like what it says. So it can, you have certain functionality on a particular web app, and you are able to do certain functionality which the web app is not intended to do. Like suppose this is happens generally due to lack of sanitization. So what exactly happens? Let me give you an example. So suppose Facebook has a functionality to upload a picture, right? And let's suppose Facebook doesn't have the functionality to delete any your picture. Like you can't delete your own picture. Let's suppose this is the functionality of a particular web, or let's suppose this is the functionality of Facebook. Okay. So suppose if an admin can't delete it, but you are able to delete that particular profile picture. So that violates actually the term how the Facebook uses, or that violates the whole context dependent, right? So that is exactly known as the context dependent access control vulnerabilities. So if you are able to do any function which the app is not authorized to do, like that's not something what an app should do, but you are able to do it, then, and that type of vulnerabilities when arises, that is known as the context dependent access control vulnerabilities. So I hope so that this thing is very clear to you. Okay. Next. So before going to the checklist, we will be solving some labs, and we will understand something deeper regarding vulnerabilities. So for this instance, I will take Portswigger. So in our previous video, or in our previous session, we have already learned about what Portswigger is, and I think you lot have also had the task to solve labs in Portswigger regarding authentication, right? So we'll be also be taking and solving some labs of Portswigger to give you an overview of how to actually find access control vulnerabilities out in the wild. So the practical section will be divided into two parts, just like we did in our previous day. Like first of all, we'll be seeing and solving some labs, and then we'll be seeing some real life POCs of what vulnerabilities that actually I have find while doing bug bounty. So we'll also see those POCs, how the vulnerabilities are there in case of real website. Okay, so that's how we'll actually see. Anyway, so I have already logged into my account in Portswigger. And so the next thing that I will be doing, I will be just go to Academy. And after going to Academy, we'll be going for the learning codes. Access control. Let's see which labs we can do. Let's start with the first one, and let's solve 5 labs, 5 or 6 labs. There are 13 labs. Just I will show you 5 to 6 labs. Okay. So unprotected admin functionality. Let's choose this one. So what we have to do? So as it says, this lab has an unprotected admin panel, and we have to solve the lab by deleting the user Carlos. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to find the admin panel, which is already unprotected, it's being told, and then we need to delete it. So I will open the lab and let's open it. Okay, so we are on the lab. So the first thing that we'll see is we will try to find the where is the admin functionality, where is the admin panel actually, right? So this is the home page and this is the my account page, and we don't have an username or password, right? So when you will see a website like this and you will try to find the admin panel, so before trying to you must, if you have any idea about CTF or if you have generally overview, if you have seen this type of thing, so what will be your first step? Let's try to create a methodology here like that you will going to apply while finding a real life. So the first thing that you will do, you will always go and check robots.txt. Though this type of though like in today's website you won't find very good thing like any relevant thing in robots.txt, but still this should be your methodology, because if you in the somehow you are competing any type of CTF competition, or you are trying to solve boxes in try hack me or hack the box or Vuln machines, then a lot of sometimes a lot of informations are out there in robot.txt. So you should note it down. Like the first thing, whenever you will try to look for any certain endpoints, any unauthenticated endpoints or any type of new endpoints, so your methodology will be first will be looking the robots.txt. So let's see robots.txt. And as we can see, there is something known as disallow administrator panel. So I think we'll try to copy this one. And yeah, so we can see we are directly into the admin panel, right? So this is an unauthenticated admin panel, and we can just go to see the admin panel by just seeing the robot.txt. It's already exposing it, right? And so to solve the lab, what we have to do is we have to delete the user Carlos. So just go and delete it. And you see we have successfully completed the lab. So that's what it is. Now we're going to see another one. So the next lab that we will see is unprotected admin functionality with unpredictable URL. So as there says, this lab also has an unprotected admin panel. It's located at unpredictable location, but the location is disclosed somewhere in the application. Okay, so something is being shared here. So let's access the lab directly. And our end goal is to delete the user. So actually we should, let's document the methodology side by side. That will be good enough for us, I guess. So I will just open a notepad. So in our first thing that we saw is check robots.txt, right? That we have seen. So here also our first thing should be checking the robots.txt. But before that, one thing you also need to show, you just before going to any robot.txt or something, you should always visit the application, like going to different type of what are the functionalities, like it may be hidden in any kind of functionalities. So you should always also check the different type of functionalities that are present in the site. Like you should actually go through the whole site. And if you are lazy enough to do it by manually, then you can use a certain thing in pub. So let me, I think this option is not out there in case of the Burp community edition, but in case of Burp Pro or Burp professional version, this thing is there. So and the name of this thing is spidering. So actually, like the thing is, this is bird. Sorry. So this is a scan option. This is the option. So what you can do, you can just click on crawl and audit, or you can just click on crawl. And when after you click on crawl, you can give the scan configurations, or you can just skip it. And if there is any login credential is there, you need to crawl any, you need to see what are the endpoints in an authenticated application. Then you need to provide the login credential by clicking on new and giving the username password, and the label it should be the domain name. Okay, followed by the username and password of that particular application. And in the resource pool, you can give what are the threads or how many threads you want to use. So we can give a maximum up to 100 to 200. And if a particular website has any rate limiting features, then you can keep it to 15 to 20. Okay. And after that, if you click on crawl and click on OK, then the Buffsuit will start crawling all the different endpoint of that particular website. So this thing is not out there in the community edition, but if you download the community edition of 2017, then you will get this feature. But instead of naming crawl, the name at the time of 2017 was spidering. So if you want to use this feature in the community edition itself, then you have to go for the older version of Bob, that is 2017 version. Okay, I hope this is clear to you. So back in our lab, so first thing that we'll see is we'll be following our methodology, and we'll check for robots.txt. And we can see that there is no robot.txt in this particular application. So what should be the next step? The next step should be, we should always look at the page source, and we need to see if anything source is there out there in the page source. So just press Ctrl U and the page source will be visible to you. Now let's look at what it's out there in page source. And as we go down, we can see there is some kind of JavaScript. And if we just go on reading the JavaScript, we can see admin panel tag dot set attribute followed by href, and there is an endpoint of admin. So let's see. Let's copy this. Let's copy this and append it at the end of the URL. And on hitting enter, we can see that we are out there to the admin panel. And again, this admin panel is unauthenticated, and that's why we have got access to this admin panel. So our second methodology should be always check the page source. Now, last day, and the next thing that we can do in order to solve the lab, we have to delete Carlos, and the lab is been solved. Anyway, so what's the conclusion that we can draw, or what the next thing that we can think about this? So apart from the page source, sometime also the application, as we have seen, the admin panel was located in the form of a JavaScript, right, in the page source. So in a real life application, the admin panel won't be hiding just the page source itself. You have to look for all of the JavaScript file present in the particular web app. So what you can do, you can just go to inspect element and just go to the debugger. And if you just go and look for the JS file, like this is the JS file for this application, but in case of in a real life scenario, there will be a lot of JavaScript file. So you have to go and check all of the JavaScript file out there, which are present in this application. And then you can have to look for any new endpoint is out there. And if you want to automate this task, there are a lot of tools and there are a lot of options like Hawkcrawler and etc. But one direct tool to automate this is JSF Scan. So I think I have told you guys about my video in my channel YogiSec. I think I have described that this particular thing. So you can just visit my video there regarding authentication. But I am telling this once again here. So this is the tool jsfscan.sh. So what these tools do is basically it will crawl the particular website and will download all the JavaScript file. And not only that, it will also try to find any secret or any endpoints or any type of any whatever important thing will be out there, whatever will be out there in the JavaScript file itself. And it will also create an output and make a complete report of it. So that's why I find this tool very good, because it makes a complete report on whatever the important features that will be out there in JavaScript file. So you can directly use this tool to look for any setup like hidden admin panel in JavaScript. Or if you're looking for, I think you guys have attended the recon session, so you must be knowing about any API keys, right? So if any API keys are hidden in the JavaScript file itself, so this tool will also give you a lot of API keys, which if they are hidden in JavaScript. Also, it will also give you some potential input and output for cross-site scripting. Anyway, so that's not our topic today, but yeah, this thing is important if you want to look for any juicy files in JavaScript. Okay, so this was the second functionality, so the second lab that we have solved. So what should we solve? Let's go for the, let's skip this one. You'll solve it yourselves. Let's solve this one, as I won't be solving all of the labs. And user role can be modified in the user profile. So this lab has admin panel slash admin, and it is only accessible to role ID of 2. Okay, solve the lab by accessing the admin panel and using it to delete the curlers. Okay. So even we are provided with a credential winner Peter, and what we have to do, we have to delete the curlers. Okay, and one information is told to us that this lab has an admin panel at slash admin, and it is only accessible with the role ID of 2. Okay, so we will open the lab. So the next thing that I will do, I will turn my intercept on in Burp, and I will make sure all the requests are go through Burp so that I can come back to any request later on. So I will just log into my account, and I will log in as winner and Peter. And this is my account page, I guess. Yeah. So there is something email, update email is there. So let's give any normal email. Let's give something email like this, an update email. Okay. And let's see, there was something was known as the lab has admin panel slash admin. So let's see if we can access that's this particular endpoint, admin endpoint. This said admin interface only available if logged in as an administrator. Okay, so we can't access the admin endpoint, right? So let's see what are the requests, what information we get from the request that we have got in Burp. Let's analyze this request. So this was the my account request, this was the login request. And is there anything important? Nothing. Should I increase the font? I think this font is too, is say a font, I think. Should I increase though? I don't know. I think it's quite big. I think everything is visible. Right. Anyway. So let's look at for what all other requests. And let's, so this is our for get academic header. So this note also, we are not getting anything juicy out there. This was the my account, same thing. This is the computer JS file. If we just go to the JS, this is also nothing, it's a file. Switching protocol, this is also not important. User role ID can be find in the profile. My account ID equal to winner. Okay, so so most probably this is not. Okay, so if we just go to my account once again, so let's try to intercept this request in the like, and if we just intercept response to this request, and there is nothing also, right? So what we can do, I will try to update this email once again. So let's try to give a normal email, and let's turn our intercept on and click on update, and do intercept response to this request too. And we can see there is a 302 response. And one thing that we can see, the username is winner, email is there, and there is a role ID equal to 1. And one thing we have noticed that admin is accessible with a role ID of 2, right? So one thing that we can, what we can't do anything, right? It's like even if we try to change the role ID to 2, like the response manipulation thing, it won't work as the username is also there and the API key is also there. So we don't know the API key, so we can't authenticate the 3 things, right? That's why we can't do the response manipulation. But one thing that we can do, if we look at the change email, and if we send this thing to repeater, and let's append something, let's append role ID equal to 2. Let's append this, as user ID is not there anywhere, so let's append this one, role ID, and let's send the request. And we can see the response shows our role ID has changed to 2, right? So what we can do, we can show the response in browser. Copy, and let's paste it. And as we can see, we can access the admin panel now by changing the role ID. So if we just click on admin panel, we can see we have access /admin, and now we can delete our Carlos. So this was another important use of example of access control vulnerability. And actually this type of vulnerability, this was a classic case of access control vulnerability, which is actually out there in a real life web application. Since you can have to modify the role ID, like instead of role ID, things can be something others like user ID or the user role, whatever it can be out there in the response. And you have to append something like changing the user ID or role ID to something different in the request, and then you have to send the request to access any other feature. So this type of vulnerability can be out there in real life application. So this was a classic case actually. So we have solved this lab. So let's turn our book and let's look for another lab. Also in the meantime, let's do one thing. I will just clear all the history. Let's do something like we did. User role can be modified. Let's do something like this. We will come back to this one, but let's do something like this one. This is a very good, I guess. So let's open this one. And let's access this lab. So this website also has an unauthenticated admin, and we have to add something like this. And here we have to delete the color, blah blah blah. Let's do it. So as you can see, we can already access the admin panel here. But no, access is denied. We can't access the admin panel. So one thing is that the admin panel option is there, but we can't. So that means like this is something that is being generated by the front end. So some kind of client side filtration or client side sanitization is there. Like the front end system has been configured to block any request to this path to the admin panel. So what we can do, like something is being also told here, like a front end system has been configured to block the path. However, the backend application is built on a framework that supports the original header. So if we try to append this header in our request, then we might be able to access the admin panel, right? So we'll just find the request for the admin, and we'll just send it to repeater. Let's send it, and we'll see 403 forbidden. And now in order to bypass this, so what we will do, we will add this one. But first of all, our methodology should be like typing anything in the here in the itself, like typing any ABC or XYZ anything, and let's see if the backend is processing it. And if we just remove this particular admin here, we are seeing a 404 not found. That means hash ABC is not there. Okay, so instead of ABC, of course it won't be there as it's a random endpoint. If I type X admin and if we send a request, we are getting a 200 OK response. And we are seeing we have already been in the admin panel and the users are out there, right? And the next thing we have to do is by deleting the Carlos. So we have to append the endpoint that has /delete, then username. So Okay, so as we can see, we are getting a 400 BAT request. So I think the username is being not processed here. Okay, so what we can do, instead of processing the username slash share, we just copy it and delete from here and paste it here. And if you just paste the username here, and we have got a response 302 found. And if we follow the direction, we can see our lab has been solved. That means Carlos has been deleted. So this was the way how you can solve the lab. And so the takeaway is this: sometimes some applications has any hidden admin panel or any endpoint which are actually hidden, and it can only be traced out, or it can only be pointed out by appending something in the URL. So you can try it for X original URL, you can try it X forwarded host, or you can try X forwarded for, or there are a lot of headers out there which you can try. Okay, so this should be the methodology for IDOTs. Sorry, for broken access control. I'm just telling whatever. Anyway, so let's just cross this and let's look for any other ones. So I think we have solved 3 labs or 4 labs again. So let's solve 2 more labs and then we can look at the POCs, I guess. So what lab should we next solve? User ID controlled by request parameter. Let's solve this one. Okay, I think we have cleared the history. Okay, that's good. And now we can, so this lab has an access control vulnerability, but sensitive information is leaked in the body of a redirect response. To solve the lab, obtain the API key of Carlos and submit as the solution. Okay, so you have to obtain the API key of Carlos. And we are provided with the credential. So let's access the lab. And we are right into the lab itself. So the next thing that we can do is we can just click on my account. And let's log in as Winner and Peter. And we have the API key of user, right? Array, one thing we forgot is giving all the location through bot. So we have to do it once again. Like we can't document everything. So let's click on my account once again. Let's do it once again. Yes. Okay. So let also do this random functionality so that we don't miss any type of functionality that we can use later on. Okay, so let's go to the book. And still there is nothing important. So if you just click on my account page, is there kind of any parameter? Okay, so there is a kind of parameter you can see, and the parameter was slash id equal to winners. So let's send this to repeater. So in the my account page, there's a parameter known as id equal to winner, and if you send this, we get the any details of winner, right? Winner's email and winner API. So what if we change this to Carlos? And if we send this, we are getting a 302, and we can see that our username is Carlos and we are logged in as Carlos, and we have got the API key of Carlos. So this is actually a case of horizontal trivial escalation. Like we can move from one user to another user, or horizontal access control vulnerability. So there was one user at one time and like winner, and from there we move to Carlos and it takes Carlos API key. So this is a case of horizontal access control vulnerability. So we have copied the API key. Now if we just submit it and the lab will be solved. Yeah. So that's how we can solve this one. So yeah, let's solve another lab. Let's look for another one. कौन सा देखें अब? Let's look for the IDOR one. So before that, I'm just going to clear all this shit out. And I will click on access the lab. So this is a use of IDOR and in lab of IDOR. Okay, so what we have to do, this lab stores user chat log directly on the server file system and retrieves them by using static URL. Okay, so we have to find the password for the user Carlos and we have to log into the account. Okay, so basically we need to find the password of Carlos, and this lab has something like it stored logs directly on the server file system. Okay, so I think we have to access the live chat, I guess. So let's proxy all the traffic through our book. So if you say what we will like say hello, क्या आता है? Okay, so and if you just click on view transcript, we get something, right? So so if you just go to the history and if you take a look at the URLs, so this was the request for post and this was the 2.txt, and here we are getting something. Now chatting with all line, right? So this is the 2.txt, right? So we can try to look for other files like 3.txt and we can see if there is something is there, and there is no transcript. Let's look for 1.txt and we are getting some content. That's good. So you hype, so something is out there, you can see. Okay, and he's saying some password. So my password is QIQC blah. So we can try and see if this password belongs to Carlos. You can try, right? This may be or may not be, but let's see now. So let's give the username as Carlos and give this password. And if you click on login, we see we have successfully solved the lab. So that was actually the password of Carlos. So that was another example of IDOR. Like we were able to retrieve some other file which we should not be. Like in a real life case, you should be able to access. If a web application is there, it should only give access to your file, not some other people file. But here we are actually able to get some other file. So this is another vulnerability of IDOR. Okay, so let's do one more lab and let's end the lab time. After that, we will go for the POCs. Method based, you can do this, but what if we do the user ID, user role contributed by request parameter? Let's do this one. I think we didn't do it. Let's solve the lab. So let's clear this all, everything that's there. And this is the last lab that we'll do. So let's proxy our traffic through board. So what we have to do? So there is an admin panel, okay, and which identifies administrator using a forgeable cookies. Okay. Anyway, so we'll just go to my account, winner, Peter, login. Let's do this. And let's go to browse admin. Admin interface only will be available if login as an administrator. So let's just look at this particular what happened. We didn't got this. Bob. Okay, we just this is the okay. So if we send this request to repeater, and if we just send this, we are getting the 4.401 unauthorized, right? So there is something known as cookie where you can see admin equal to false. So this is something not right. So if we just change this to admin equal to true, what will happen? We are getting a 200 response. And as you can see, we are in the admin panel, right? So next thing what we can do, we can simply delete the Carlos, right? So just copy the remaining part. Append this here. And just send the request. And yeah, we think we have solved the lab. So that's all about how you can. So there are a lot of actually we have seen broken access control can be there in out many ways. And actually, this was an example of context-based access control because this functionality shouldn't be out there in the cookie, but it's there. So this is an example of context-based. So that's it for the lab. So I think we have solved a lot of labs here. Now, next that we can move to real life POCs and we can see what actually are the vulnerability that are out there and how actually broken access control vulnerabilities are present in real life websites. So we'll take a look at those. So let's just move on to it. So let me just close the Bob suit as I will be seeing the POC, so you need it. And let's close the notepad too. I hope all of you guys have got it till now. As now let's move on to the POCs. I think we have named it everyone. Okay, one thing that I haven't showed you guys is a basic checklist of basic requests, like test for what are the endpoint we can test. Okay, let me show you guys after that. Before that, let me show you some POCs. After that, we'll be seeing. So as we were talking about the delete function, just a minute. Let me just okay. So this is actually an IDOR vulnerability, and this will let to see how we can delete some other people cart item. Okay, and in order to see it, you'll be seeing this. So just look at the POC. So this is an IDOR vulnerability to delete other cart item. So this is the website, and there is something in the cart as you can see. And you can see the product. Now we'll turn the our proxy on and our Burp Suite on. After that, we will try to remove this from this cart, and we have intercepted this particular request. As you can see, now I will send this request to repeater, and after that I have forwarded and I have timed the intercept on. So as you can see, this item is successfully removed from cart. Now notice there is an ID for this particular item, right? Now what I will do, I will send this ID, copy it. You can directly send it to repeater, and you can see if we just go and decode this ID as base 64, we can see we are getting a number. So this is most probably that particular cart ID 193910. So what we can do now, we can change this ID to something 13911 or 193909, and then we can encode it into base 64, and then we can put it into that request, right? So I will do that here. And this was the just to see it once again. And we can see now we will be seeing the product type, and if we copy the product type, and we can see it's a domain, right? Because we are removing, we have seen in the POC that we are removing a particular domain from cart anyway. So we are trying to change this ID, that is 193910. And this is the domain name that we have bought. So I will change this to 193911, and I will encode it into base 64. And I will encode it as base 64, and I will copy this and I will paste it in this ID. I will replace this ID, and see we have replaced it. Now if we send a request, we can see we got a 200 response, and this means that actually the thing is being removed from our cart. Like this was the second user. And you can see the product is removed from second user card. See? So this was the example of how we can delete card, and we have seen another feature. Actually, another vulnerability was present in it, that is the code encryption. So the site was using base64 to encode the product ID. So so in a real life case, things can be just like that. We can just try to see what kind of, whenever we will see something like this, we will try to decode it. It can be base64, it can be hex encoded, it can be whatever. You can try to break this encoding, and then if you can get some data like this, try to manipulate it and see what we get, right? So this was an example. So this was a feature, a POC, and another POC I will show you. So this is another POC. And this POC actually belonged to one of my friend. And as you can see, in this particular site, we have a lot of requests, and in this particular request, we have a user ID. You can see there is an user ID and there is a source, and this was in this particular endpoint API v4.fake.caller-id.io. As I told, a lot of actually IDOTs or access control vulnerabilities are out there in the API endpoint. So always check for and look for the API endpoints. You can see this user ID, right? Now I will try to see, like, we will send this request to intruder, and I will brute force a few digits in this user ID, and we will see how many resources of other people we can access. So we have sent this request to intruder. I'll particularly select this point, and I will change the payload type to number, and I will just type the number from and up to where we need to brute force, like what the number we need to see. I will skip step 1. Okay, so now we will start the attack, and as you can see, the brute force is going on, and all the response are getting 200. Okay, so all these users are actually there, and we are able to get details of all these users. As you can see, we are getting request of all other users, IDs, device ID, minutes. So this IDOT is leading to give information of all other users. See, we are able to access any IDs, right? So that's it for this vulnerability. And next we will be seeing another POCs of vertical privilege escalation. And this POC is very interesting. So as you can see, there is an email address and password field. So we have logged in and clicked on sign in. And we are sending this particular request to repeater, or we can directly intercept response to this request. And when you've intercepted the request, we can see there is a token, and this is actually known as JWT token. So if you see any token starting with EY, then it's have to be a JWT one. So now we will what next we'll do, we'll try to decode this JWT token. So he hasn't seen here in the POC. We'll try first copy this, and you can actually, the site that you can use to decode any JWT token is, let me show you guys, jwt.io. So whenever you will see any JWT token, just go and paste it here, and it will be decoded in this pattern in the site. Okay. So after decoding, we can see the role is user. So what if we change this user role to admin? So this is actually example of vertical privilege escalation. And we can see we are changing this role to admin. Now we will copy this change JWT and we'll replace this here. And we have pasted it here, and now we'll forward it. And we'll turn my intercept off. And then we can see we have logged in as an admin. So actually there was two vulnerability here. One vulnerability was the IDOR. Sorry, one vulnerability was the vertical privilege escalation that's changing from user to admin. And second one actually is the vulnerability of JWT. Like the what if the JWT has been implemented correctly, then in order then after changing the thing from user to admin in the payload, this JWT should have been invalid. Because when we change this, we have to actually there is a encryption in the JWT known as, after the JWT is divided into three format: header, payload, and then encryption. So like this one in the encryption. So if we change anything in the payload or header format, then we have to put our secret key. Like we have to sign it with the secret key. So actually this site is not checking if they are not verifying the signature here. They're not verifying the key. So this was actually two vulnerabilities involved in this particular POC. But as it involved changing role from user to admin, so I showed you this one. So this is actually a case of two vulnerability. Yep. So actually this is a very interesting case. So actually there is a very, if you just want to go and look out for this type of vulnerabilities, and you can practice out there in the Portswigger, there is a dedicated, some of the labs out there in Portswigger regarding JWT token based vulnerabilities. So you can go and check out and solve those JWT labs. As a lot of modern websites, instead of using cookies, rely on authorization token or JWT token for authentication. So if you are finding an authentication vulnerabilities or access control vulnerabilities, before other than solving the authentication and access control lab, go and solve the JWT lab side by side. Okay, so we have seen this. Now we'll see. We'll look for a JW. We'll look for some IDOT checklist or access-based checklist. So this is one of the checklists that we can see. So if we just zoom into this, so if the request is this, like account 22222, we can change this account to 33333, and we can see sometimes can be an ID combo. Like we have to change both the user A and the corresponding number here to user B and the data here. Okay, we can sometimes change the response in JSON, like changing the account value in the JSON response here. Sometimes we can change the email as user ID, like user A@email.com to user B@email.com. If a GID is there or a group ID is there, we can change the company A to company B. Sometimes we can do it as a combo, as like company and user A@company A to company B to user B@company B. Then there can be an example of nested object like account 2222333. Like instead of this, we have used a nestation, like we have put this thing into another bracket, right? So we can do this also by this way. And we can also append another accounts, and we can try to see if any broken object level authorization is there, and we are able to access multiple accounts. Like this is a way of making the server confused to check which particular account we are trying to access. And there is this data, you can change a particular one or two value in the data itself. So this is an example of IDOT checklist. And we can also go for an IDOT mind map. like before IDOR, I will show you another checklist of IDOR. Just take a note of this particular URL. This one. So there are a lot of methods of checking for IDOR here. Like type of IDOR you will see in the wild. Like what are the method? Always create 2 account and you can just go and read it out. What are the different type of test case? Like changing to user ID, album ID to different. Also some tips is out there. We can use a BART extension called Parameterizer, which will help remembering. Yeah, doing for the parameter pollution, changing your account ID to admin's account ID. Like only your account ID is there, and we have added a and try to access admin's account ID. This is parameter pollution actually. Changing the HTTP request, like instead of changing post to put. Okay, so this is also an example of broken function level authorization actually. So we'll see a test case of broken function level authorization. So this is an example of broken function level, like only post one is allowed for this, but put is not actually should be allowed by the server. But if you try to add put, the server is somehow accepting it. So this is a function level vulnerability if this type of vulnerability is out there. So you can just go and check out all this particular scenario case of how many types of vulnerabilities can be out there, right? Okay. Yes, sir. Okay. So this was the IDOR checklist. And the next thing that we'll see is the IDOR mind map. So these are the different types of IDOR techniques. This is created by Mufadal Maswala. You can just also see it in this notes.mufad.info. You can get it. So there are a lot of techniques out there. You can just copy this one and you can look for what are the different type of IDOR techniques that he has been told. Like if you just making small, then we can see like bypass object level authorization, how is the parameter pollution, changing file type, changing the JSON parameter pollution, wrap the ID with an array in the body, wrap the ID with a JSON object, test an outdated API version. So testing the outdated API version, this is an example of improper asset control. If you know about the WASP API top 10, so this is the vulnerability included in the API top 10, API vulnerability. This also comes under actually IDOR, but it also has a separate class known as improper access, improper assets control in case of APIs. So testing the same web endpoint in the mobile application. Sometimes this is actually another vulnerability I have encountered a lot while doing bug bounty. Like if you are trying to access an endpoint in the web in your laptop or desktop, you can't access it. But the same endpoint you are trying to access in your mobile, you are able to access it. Actually, I got in one of my earliest days, there was a program. Now they don't hold a program anymore. I don't know if they still hold a program like Viper VPN. Viper VPN actually had this kind of vulnerability. Like one endpoint was at their admin endpoint was accessible through my mobile phone, but that particular endpoint is not accessible through any desktop or any laptop. Yeah, so I remember this one from one of my earlier days. So this was another thing. You can go and look for error messages, path traversal, then swapping the non-numeric, missing function level access, as I told you about the broken function vulnerability, swapping 2 IDs, create 2 user account and swap each and other UID. Okay, sending wildcard instead of an ID. Like you can try to look for all of the users. Like if something is there, API slash users slash followed by an user ID, just remove the user ID and give star and try to look for all of the users. Okay, dorking in the public from, yeah, so though you can try to see and look for, try to use these methods in looking for vulnerabilities out there. So let me just close it. Uh, Another thing that I will try to show you guys is, let's see something in real. Let me show you guys an example of broken function level authorization. And I will use a so this is the site, and you can see I have already logged into this particular site, right? So the next thing that I will do, I will open my Pub suite. So we'll turn my Pub proxy on. And so we will go and we will try to upload a video. And video of the self. So I have uploaded a POC video here. We don't the next thing that if we just do and try to change video name, we can just type any normal thing, blah blah blah. We can click on change video name, and like we are trying to do anything in this site, right? Just we are going for the functionality. Okay, so as we can see here, we don't have any option to remove this video. We can change this video, but we don't have any option to remove the video, right? So this is the okay. So mm, some problems going on, I guess. Let me just close my burp once again. Uh, okay. So if you just make a change video name and just type change video name here. Sorry, let me just I didn't turn the intercept on, right? Sorry. Let me just turn the intercept on. And do this, let me do this functionality once again. So I just want to send this request. Whenever I'm visiting this site, just my burp is hanging. Hanging हो रहा है. Okay, so our name has been changed, right? Okay, so yeah, type में क्या है problem? Okay, so you have sent this request to repeater. So if you just send it, we're supposed to get a response. The site is taking a lot of time, and it's creating a problem for my burp, I guess, too. Okay, okay. So yeah, I'm just skipping this part because there might be a problem in the lab site. But actually, what actually we had to do for this? Okay, no, we got a response, right? It's just taking a lot of time. So one thing we can do, as I told, there is no way to remove the video, right? So one thing we can do, if we try to change this put method to delete, like this functionality is not accessible in this site. But what if we try to do it? If we try to send the response as delete, and you can see this is an admin function and try to access the admin API, right? And by changing the put to delete, let's change this one from user to admin. And if you send this request, we get a 200 response, and we have seen that user video deleted successfully. So this was an example of broken function level authorization. And if you just go back, and then if you just go to this feature, and we can see the video has been removed. So there was no option here to remove the video, and so the site has not given me us any function to remove the video, but still we are successful to remove the video by changing the put to delete. So this is an example of function level vulnerability. So like we are able to change it from method put to delete, right? And we have successfully deleted the video. So that's it for this particular vulnerability. And as I told, a lot of vulnerabilities in case of IDOR or access control vulnerabilities are out there in the API endpoint. So if a website has any API endpoint, try to see what functionalities are there in it, and try to do anything or change anything, try to change any value, try to play with the request. Okay, so this will be an important tip for you guys. And the next thing we'll see is the mitigation. So what we can do to prevent such vulnerability. So access control vulnerabilities can generally be prevented by taking our defense in-depth approach and applying the following principle. Never rely on obfuscation alone for access control. Unless a resource is intended to be publicly accessible, deny access by default. Wherever possible, use a single application-wide mechanism for enforcing access control. At the code level, make it mandatory for developer to declare the access that is allowed for each resource and deny access by default. Thoroughly audit and test access control to ensure they are working as the designed. So these are the typical mitigation that you can go and use for access control vulnerabilities. So yeah, that's all for our session. I hope you guys have understood the different type of access control vulnerabilities. And one thing before this, I forgot to tell you, if you want to automate this particular like the IDOTs and authorization. So I will actually refer you to a video because authorized tool itself is a 1 hour video. So don't forget. Or like there's a tool actually. Let me go for this tool at first. Authorize. Okay, so auto yeah, this one. So and let me also show you the tool, I guess that will be better for us. Let this particular video load and I will show you this tool. So let me just show you options for extender. And so this is the tool. This is the buff extension. The name of this buff extension is authorize. Okay. So I already had it on my buff. So you will get an interface like this, authorize. And this is the video by XSS Rat. Like you can search for I authorize XSS Rat and you can look onto this particular video to see how you can use authorize for testing IDOTs or testing any access control vulnerabilities. Okay, so this is it. And if you want to install it, you can directly go to extender. You can go to the app store and you can search for authorize first. And you can go on to click on this authorize and install it. And one thing to install it, you need to have installed Jython on your system and you have to give the configure the path for Jython. So yeah, that's it for today's session, guys. I hope every one of you have understood it. And if you guys have any question, we will be taking the questions after this. So thank you everyone, and I hope you have find this session very much useful. Thank you.
Absolutely. It is really a detailed session and a precise one where you covered the practical aspects here. Now I'll be posting the quiz link into the YouTube chat. And now we are open for questions. If you have any questions, do post it. Sir, I would just request you if you can just start a timer of 20 minutes on the screen. That would be
Okay.
great.
Like
Directly you can go. Yeah, start it on Google also. That works. 20 minutes timer.
okay.
So that and let the screen be shared.
Okay. Let me.
All right. So we are open for questions also. So let us know if there are any questions. You can post the questions into the YouTube chat. So everybody is saying great session.
Thanks,
Yes.
guys.
They're saying thank you very much. Nice practical approach. Okay,
So
people are asking about the previous videos, guys. The videos are already there on the YouTube playlist. You can go ahead and check. Okay, so there is a question from Sujal is asking, can we test IDOR by changing the version of the API ek/user v1 to
yes,
user /v2?
yes. Actually, we can change from any. This comes under improper asset management, and this actually comes under our API vulnerability, improper asset management. You can also call it under IDOR. Yes, we can do it. We can change from V1 to V2. Like generally, we can change it from V2 to V1. And if there is a V3 version, then we can look for the older version and try to access any particular functionality. Yes, we can obviously do that. We can test IDOL like this.
All right, thank you for that. Uh, there is a question which is asking, give a real-time example of IDOR.
Uh,
So can you just elaborate on that?
Real-time example of IDAR. I think I show you 3, 4, 4 my practical POCs. Those have the real-time IDAR. Like
All right, and then so you can watch the video by rewinding it
yeah,
where you will
I showed you
get
real life POCs. Of my
absolutely.
own
Yeah,
hunting.
that's good. That, maybe the participant has joined
Yeah, yeah,
late.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, uh, okay, sir. I am directly taking it from YouTube, sir. You don't have to bother.
All right, so
Yeah,
that
yeah,
would be great.
yeah. Yeah. Any more question? Just tell me. Yes. Sir, I have found account takeover vulnerability in a large firm, but they don't have bug bounty program. I tried reaching them, but they are not responding. What to do? If they are not responding, then you can't do anything. Uh, then one thing you can do, you just can go to open bug bounty program and you can report it there. So, and they will just try to contact that particular website owner. So let me show you open bug bounty. And another thing you can do is if you try using any Snowvio or Hunter.io to gather for any technician's email or any developer's team or if DevSecOps team's email and try to mail them also if that counts. But generally, if they're not responding, they might not at some point. So better you just go and report it on openbugbounty.org in this particular website, and they will try to contact that particular firm and will give you if there is any update. That's all you can do. This one open bug bounty. I think I am taking one quick old question. Sir, if video upload and we don't want that video, then how will I delete that video in upload? Now that's really possible. So I think you are taking that for that particular site I showed. Yeah, that was there. And how will I delete that video and upload? That is also that is the option was there for changing the video. And I showed you the POC where like there was no options to delete the video. Still, by appending that particular functionality, changing the option from put to delete, you are able to delete it, which the actually the site has not given you the option to delete your video. I did that. I think that was the thing. Any more question, guys? Just tell me. The vulnerability is authentication bypass. How do I report it? Directly go and report it to your college dean or principal. बोल दो. Tell it to your college department or someone who is in your CSE or in the who is in technical details, technical department. Like try to say it to them. Can you suggest some more resource to learn about HTTP request response header? Acha. Can you guide how you can just tell me like how you want to be get guided in reporting a video? Just be specific. To learn more about HTTP request, just search in Google. Go on search and like this HTTP request. What do you want to learn? Search like this HTTP request. Just search like HTTP headers. The developer.mozilla.com HTTP request method. You can see this. See the documentation here. See there is a lot of things there. Resources URL. HTTP access, HTTP authentication, what are the different type of requests, what are the type of requests, get, head, post, put, delete, connect. Just see these Mozilla docs on what are the different type of methods. Can I know your journey in learning hacking? That's a very big one, bro. Maybe one day I will document it down on somewhere. That's a lot of. Please ask technical question. That will be better for this session. What are other tools for JS finding from website? There are a lot of one-liners actually out there that we can use. I think try to be active on Twitter and try to follow bug hunters on Twitter. If you just do the one-liners, I think there is a very good one-liner by Upcha. That's how you will get a lot of tips like it. अरे नहीं ये वाला नहीं. Apart from JSS scan, I think another. Okay, one thing I forgot you. Okay, directly one tool is there. So this one is link finder. Yeah, this one. You can try to use this tool other than JSF scan. And apart from that, try to be active on Twitter and try to follow different type of popular bug hunters out there. As a lot of people give one-liners, and at the end, I actually have bookmarked a lot of them. I particularly don't remember now, but I have a lot of one-liners, like some kung fu commands to find JS files. And you can also try to use this particular tool also, link finder, to look for different JavaScript files. Yeah, you can also use this one. If I okay, one thing I just forgot. I can give you a one liner like this. You can try to find this like this. Like you can use tools like Webpack. If you have, I think you guys have attended the recon session. I don't know if speaker has covered this. Like if you can use Webpack URLs or GAU, then if you give Webpack URLs followed by the domain.com, and then what you can use, just grep all.js. You can do like this, and you can grep out all the JS files, or you can, instead of use web, you can also, first of all, you can also do it like pass them to hop roller, and before that pass it to HTTPX, and then grep the JS files. That will be better, as this it will won't include the 404 file. So this will, you can also try to use this particular one-liner for finding JS file. Sir, can you tell about XSS vulnerability in web the people are using same script? There are a lot of ways to find XSS vulnerabilities. It's not just depend.script alert one. There are a hell lot of XSS script. Just look for a chain of XSS payload, and not only that, there are a lot of type of XSS. Like there are post-based XSS. You can see payload of the XSS cross-site payload history. You can try the best way. You can see the video of XSS, how to master XSS by XSS Rat, and look for, there is a book of brute logic of how to find XSS. So try to read those book of brute logic. That is the best way you can learn XSS. And there is a lot of cheat sheet. You can find a lot of payloads, but that's not how you can actually get XSS. Yeah, well, sometimes you have to craft your own payload based on what you have to guess the filter that is being used on the back end, right? So you have to do a lot of things in order to find XSS. How can I use Bubsuit Spider to find subdomain of a website? You don't use Bubsuit Spider to find subdomain of a website. There are a lot of tools to find subdomains. I think you guys have seen this in the recon session. You can't use Bubsuit Spider for getting subdomains. Like there might be something out there if you are just crossing domain, and if you have just scrolled or visited a lot of domain, something will be out there in the target, but that will be one or two. But if you want to get the lot of subdomains, you have to rely on tools. And also there are online tools are there, like Subdomain Finder is there, like VirusTotal is there, and if you are going for CLI tools, Subfinder, Amas, and a lot of tools is there. It was there in the recon session of you guys, I hope.
Yes, there are a lot of things which were covered. So people who have missed the recon session can obviously go ahead and check with the recon session. I just have to make some announcement here. On 27th of this month, we are coming to Kolkata, and we are having a launch of Kolkata chapter. So the link is already given into the Telegram channel. So people who are from Kolkata can obviously come here. Agniva sir is taking one session on API pen testing, and I myself am taking a session on mobile phones. Fine. Secondly, another announcement is we are coming to Dubai from 28th of April to let's say 3rd of May. And so anybody like from Dubai want to catch up for a meetup and all, so obviously can get back to us and we can get connected. I think last 5 minutes are left, sir, right?
Yeah. Most 5 minutes are there. For certifications, I have done EJPT.
Arshad, no, no, I'm not coming to Mumbai. We are from Mumbai only. We are coming to Dubai, actually, from 29th. Okay, that is the question. Okay, so there is a question about is unable to solve the labs of two-factor authentication due to community version. Can you guide on that?
Yeah, okay, so I am unable to solve the lab of two-factor due to community version cannot load 10,000 payload. Yeah, can you just tell on which lab you are not able to solve? Then I will be. Can you be more specific about the lab name? then we can just look onto it. Gulshan.
All right, till the time, let me answer the query about the project allocation. So everyone, yeah, so there are 4-5 questions on project allocation. Yeah, so basically the thing is, a lot of people have filled their skill sets by mistakenly they have selected the things which they want to learn and not which they have. So that's the reason it is taking much time to allocate a project. So we have to really filter a lot of things here and then allocate them specifically. So people have selected few things wrong and then few things are correct. So we are allocating accordingly. So that's the reason it is taking time. So as soon as it is done, we will get the update. Okay. Don't worry.
Authentication lab title 2FA broken logic. Okay, let me see. Actually, all labs are designed so that you guys can do with the help of community version. Let me see. What is being said? You have the email. This was something 2FA broken logic. If this is the lab you are telling, then why do you need to send 1000 requests? This is there is some broken logic itself in the password reset flaw, I guess. And there is something you need to change. You need to look in the response in order to change it. So this doesn't require any. You don't need to send 10,000 requests here. 2FA broken logic authentication. This one now you are telling. Kaya, let's solve this. Why do you here need to send 2000, 1000 logic? I am not getting it. This one, if you are telling that 2FA broken logic, this is the only lab I can see. 2FA broken logic authentication. Just tell me yes if you are telling about this particular one. This vulnerability is for 2FA using brute force attack. This lab doesn't need you to send 10,000 requests. You are doing it something wrong. Uh, 2FA bypass using brute force method is also taking time. Yeah, it will be taking time because that one is if you are using doing any brute force attack, that will take time because for the communication doesn't support those. So Richa, it will going to take time for the brute force attack. But Gulshan, in this particular lab, you don't need anything. I will once again tell you to check my. Okay, you are telling me about the verification code. So the verification code was 4-digit verification code, and for the 4-digit verification code, you don't need. Uh, it will take time. Just intruder will take some time, but it will eventually be solved. You don't need to set a lot of requests. You can try to see it. Yeah. Please show it how to do it in a correct way. Last day I have solved this lab, I hope. Please see the video once again. I have showed it. I myself I take it. Yeah, each lab is taking its own time to finish. Yes, of course. All the labs which you have to brute force for password, it will take time. Yeah. One thing you can do, just remove the first 1001. There won't be code in first 1000. So this is one thing you can do. You can reduce this to 10,000. Just remove the first 1000. There will be left with 9,000. There won't be any code in the first 1000. So this is something in the you will see in the code trigger. You won't find it in first 1000. So try it to 9,000.
So just can you show me the timer if it is off?
Yeah. I think the time is over.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you guys. We'll see you in the next session.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank you
sir.
very much, sir. It was really a wonderful session. And thank you very much for your time, sir.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very